All right, welcome back to Talking Baseball here on WCWP. Mike Trematozzi, Mike DeJoy, Corey Sobel with you. On the phone, we've got an old friend of the show who we haven't talked to since the World Series, so I'm sure he got a nice break from us, and now he's ripper and ready to go for a full season. Dan Graziano from Newark Star Ledger's on the phone. Dan, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good, thanks for coming on.
Obviously, the big story is Alex Rodriguez. Now, on Saturday morning, I'm sure when you heard about it, what were your first initial reactions to the news, and what did you think of A-Rod's apology on Monday?
Well, in terms of first reaction, I mean, you can't be surprised anymore, and it's not like no one had ever been wondering about Alex. I mean, nobody who performed at the level that he has during this time, has been free from suspicion, just because we know that steroids were rampant and that the very best guys used them in an effort to either become or stay the very best. And so I don't think you can really be surprised, and so I wasn't. My first reaction was, geez, this is going to be some kind of big story, and I think I hit the nail on the head there. But in terms of his apology, weak, bare minimum stuff. I mean, but certainly more than we've seen from like Clemens and Bonds and people like that who continue to deny. But I mean, it's tough to take him at his word that he was clean before '01 and he's been clean since '03, because obviously he's lied to us all. And right now he seemed the most emotional he got during the entire interview was when he was discussing how mad he was at Selena Roberts for breaking the story and basically accused her of stalking him and made up a bunch of stuff about how she had gotten in trouble with Miami police, which didn't turn out to be true. And so, it seems like you're left wondering once again, as we so often are in these cases, is this a guy who's sorry for what he did, or is this a guy who's sorry that he got caught?
We actually were just asking that question ourselves a little while ago. What effect, if any, do you think this is going to have on the team this year? So far, his support has been overwhelming from all the players, but how much is this going to be around during the season? Well,
he's obviously, this is not a guy who is a rock solid guy mentally, as we all know, and so you can sort of easily sit here in February and say, well, it's going to be rough for him. He's going to hear it everywhere he goes, and he'll hear it at home if he doesn't perform right away out of the gate. So tough to tell. I mean, Alex is a guy that he might be okay with this. He might really feel like he's gotten enough off his chest that he can play comfortably, or it might be the kind of thing that he's a tough guy to predict, because he should be great every year, and by certain standards he actually is great every year, but is he going to be Alex Rodriguez great this year or not? And we really won't know for a while. It'll be interesting to see. I'm fascinated to see. I can't make a prediction on Alex and his performance this year.
Maybe if he gets back on steroids, he'll be better.
Ouch.
Well, yeah, I mean that is how it works. That's why they were all taking him. I mean, it wasn't
if he
tasted good.
If he starts off really hot, are the steroid allegations going to pop up right away? Do you think?
Well, the problem is there's always going to be suspicion, and obviously every time the last couple of years that Jason Giambi went on a hot streak, it's the first thing anybody said was, must found something that doesn't show up on the test. So that's where he is now, and obviously there are going to be whispers about that, and whether that's legitimate or whether that's fair is a matter of debate. But I mean, it's certainly, there's all kinds of layers to this, and people are outraged about Major League Baseball for letting it go on under the nose, for the union and their apparent role in this. It all comes back to the fact that these guys cheated and they broke the law, and whatever they get for it, they deserve.
Do you feel that he's going to get more of a clean slate like Andy Pettitte did, or is he going to go into the Barry Bonds effect and teams are going, or fans are going to really hate on him for this?
I think it's somewhere in between. It won't be as bad as Bonds in terms of overall hatred, because people feel like Bonds, is insulting their intelligence. We know Barry Bonds cheated. We have him dead to rights, and he refuses to admit it. He's defiant about his lack of admission. Alex has shown some degree of contrition here that's a lot more like what Pettitte did, but Pettitte is a much-loved and well-respected player throughout the game in terms of teammates and opponents and fans.
And in New York.
And Alex is a guy that has not been well-liked and has not garnered the respect of his opponents, and so it'll probably be maybe more toward the Pettitte end of the spectrum, but not all the way in terms of the level of forgiveness that Andy got.
One of the big parts of this whole story is the fact that those quote-unquote anonymous tests were supposed to be destroyed in 2004, but the federal government subpoenaed them, hoping to find something against Barry Bonds and later on Roger Clemens. And the fact that his name was leaked and that there are other now 103 other people, it seems just a little. Doesn't it seem a little suspicious that it's just Alex that's released? It shouldn't, now that Alex is out, shouldn't we release the other 103 because they deserve to all be stand together? Basically, it shouldn't just be Alex with 103 people getting to keep their privacy. Shouldn't all 104 be released?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I would like to know as much as possible, and if there is information that we don't know, then I think we should. I mean, it gets into the issue of the players' rights, and they were taking what they were told were confidential tests, and it turns out years later that they weren't confidential, and there are sticky legal issues there, obviously. In terms of how it got leaked, Selena Roberts is doing a book on Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
This is how this all comes about. She's investigating his life and career for a book she's doing. So she uncovered this in her reporting. The answer to your question may well be as simple as nobody's doing a book on those other 103 guys, so they haven't found, or maybe those who are doing aren't as good a reporter as Selena is, or didn't, trip. As a reporter, sometimes you get information because you're good, sometimes you get it because you're lucky, sometimes it's a little bit of both. But yeah, I think that it would do us some good to know the names of everybody who took steroids, because then it would be over. I mean, you really could put it behind you, as opposed to every couple months a new name leaks out, and we're doing this. We're doing these interviews over and over again. I don't want to sound like grumpy old Derek Jeter down there in Tampa, but it does get to the point where you do get sick of talking about this one issue over and over again, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Derek actually made a point when he mentioned how the only reason the players agreed to those tests was because they were promised to be anonymous. Yeah. What type of what does this do to the union and the players' relationship now, knowing that the union promised it, and now all of a sudden Alex's name is out? So now every other player who thought it would be confidential now is thinking, is my name going to get leaked? Did I fail? What is that relationship now between the players and the union?
Well, the union obviously got strong-armed here because the federal government was the one that seized those records before the union could destroy them. Or before the union did destroy them. So they were apparently, as Don Fear said in a statement, whether it was yesterday or today, I forget. They were in the process of starting to assemble that information so they could get rid of it when the federal government stepped in and basically subpoenaed all of it, and so they had to give it up. There's a lot of problems here. I mean, the rank and file in the union versus union leadership on this issue, this has been a thorny problem for the last 5-6 years, because you heard certain players come out and say, well, the union, is fighting drug testing at the peril of its members, and it's a tough position for the union to be in, obviously, because the union is supposed to protect the contract it negotiated, and if there's no drug testing in it, then they should continue to fight for the players to have the right not to be drug tested. So it's very, very sticky. It's very, very ugly. We still don't know all the details of who knew what, when, and there's all these accusations about union officials tipping off players to upcoming tests, and if that turns out to be true, which we don't know, if that does turn out to be true, then that's awful. I mean, that's despicable stuff, but that really undermines the whole drug program. But as of now, I mean, it's just your question is a good one, and it opens up 20 more questions, and that's sort of the problem we're dealing with now, is assigning blame in this. It looks like there's just there's too many candidates.